Welcome back to We Should Probably Talk. And I'm Ian, and I'm here with Professor Michelle.
Hi, everybody.
Today, we're tackling a topic that has moved from the neon lights of the casino floor straight into our pockets: online betting addiction.
This is going to be a heavy discussion today.
Professor, we've received a listener letter that perfectly and unfortunately illustrates exactly why this digital shift is so dangerous. So they wrote this: Dear Professor Michelle and Ian, I'm writing because I'm genuinely scared for one of my closest friends, Leo. Over the last few months, I've watched Leo's personality completely shift, and it all seems to revolve around his phone. It started out as just $5 or $10 bets on Sunday Night Football. We all do a bit of that for fun, but now it's constant. Even when we're out at dinner or at the library, he's glued to a sportsbook app, betting on everything from international table tennis to obscure overseas basketball games at 2 a.m. The fun part seems to have vanished. He's become incredibly irritable, especially if a game doesn't go his way. He started asking to borrow money for gas or groceries, but then I'll see the notifications on his lock screen showing up he just deposited more funds into his betting account. When I tried to gently bring it up, he got really defensive and told me I was killing his vibe and that he's just one big parlay away from paying me back double. What really haunts me is how easy it is for him to hide. To our other friends, he just looks like he's texting or scrolling social media. But I've seen the balance on his screen, and I know he's thousands of dollars in the hole. How do I talk to someone who thinks they have a system when I can see they're actually drowning? Is there a way to help him realize this is an addiction before he loses more than just money? Thanks for everything you do, Zach.
That is a heart-wrenching classic example of what we call the hidden addiction. Unlike other substances, there's no breathalyzer for gambling or betting. And as Zach noted, Leo just looks like he's texting.
I was reading some 2026 data this morning in anticipation of today's discussion, and it's sobering. It seems like the landscape of gambling has shifted entirely from the physical casino floor to the smartphone in our pockets.
Exactly. It's the pocket casino phenomenon.
So how bad is it? Are we just talking about people playing the occasional lottery ticket?
Unfortunately, no. Recent surveys suggest nearly 8 in 10 Americans now view gambling addiction as a serious, legitimate addiction on par with alcohol or drugs. And what's alarming is the accessibility. And what alarms me the most is that we're seeing a significant rise in early exposure among young adults, with a lot of folks participating in sports betting before they're even 21.
And it's not just a social thing anymore. You can lose your rent money on an app while sitting on your couch at 3 a.m. It's completely stripped away the friction of old school gambling.
It's that easy money vibe.
I actually have a guy in my morning seminar. He's the king of the "I'm retiring at 22" joke. He sits in the back, ignoring the lecture, showing everyone his slips. He tells the whole row he doesn't need to care about his GPA because his parlay on European volleyball is going to pay for his first house.
The classic big win persona.
Exactly. But last Tuesday, he bragged about winning $3,000. Then, 5 minutes later, pulled me aside and asked if I could Venmo him $10 for a sandwich because he forgot his wallet.
The forgotten wallet syndrome. It's the first sign that digital numbers aren't matching the physical bank account.
This addictive behavior isn't just impacting young adults, though, is it?
No. I actually have a family friend who's a young dad, has a beautiful 2-year-old daughter, a great job. He was always level-headed and responsible, but he got hooked on in-game betting. And I saw him at his daughter's birthday party, appearing to be taking photos, but he was actually betting on the football game that was happening that afternoon.
That's the pocket casino.
It cost him everything, Ian. He wasn't just losing his fun money. He went through their entire savings, over $80,000, before his wife even realized there was a problem. His brain was being hijacked by an algorithm.
That's the scary part.
If we think about it scientifically, we might more easily recognize it before it becomes a problem. So the brain's reward center, gets so loud that the prefrontal cortex, that part of the brain that says, hey, this money is for the mortgage, literally gets drowned out. It's like trying to hear a whisper in a hurricane.
Well, let's talk about that one parlay away mentality. Why does Leo and my classmate and your family friend think they're so close to winning?
It's the near miss effect. So, in a 2026 neuroimaging study, researchers found that when a gambler almost wins, the brain releases nearly the same amount of dopamine as a jackpot would.
So, losing by 1 point actually feels good to the brain?
That is what we're coming to understand. It's interpreted as mastery. The brain thinks, I almost had it, which means my system works. I just need one more try.
This is why online apps are so dangerous. They can give you that near miss hit every 30 seconds.
And the statistics back that up.
Right. I also read that 52% of sports bettors report chasing losses. It's not about the money anymore.
Yup. It's about fixing the mistake of the loss.
So, Professor, we've been talking about sports books, but there's another player in the game that feels different. I'm seeing Kalshi everywhere lately. It doesn't look like a casino. It looks like a stock market app. What exactly is going on there?
You're right to notice that shift, Iain. In just the last year, Kalshi has evolved from a market for people that are into economics into a massive federally regulated powerhouse. It's competing directly with the big sports books now, but it operates on a completely different legal plane.
How so? If I'm putting money on an outcome, isn't that just a bet?
Not in the eyes of the law, because Kalshi is regulated by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. These aren't bets. They're event contracts or derivatives.
Event contracts. That sounds very fancy for something that feels like gambling. How does it actually work?
It's a peer-to-peer exchange, more like the New York Stock Exchange than a bookie. You're trading against other people, not the house. So everything is a simple yes or no contract.
So, because it's a derivative and not gambling, does that mean it's legal in the states where FanDuel is banned?
Exactly. It bypasses state-by-state bans, making it legal in all 50 states, which, by the way, online sports betting is not legal in all 50 states. And sports betting is illegal if you're under 21, but Kalshi can be used if you're 18 or over. It's the ultimate loophole that has turned into a massive business. By March 2026, Kalshi was valued at $22 billion.
$22 billion? How are they making that much money if they aren't the house taking the losses?
So here's the thing. They aren't betting against you. They're just collecting fees. It's all about volume. They've moved from Fed rates to 90% sports betting. And by adding parlays, they've officially turned a prediction market into a high-risk sports book.
But let's get back to the dopamine. If it looks like a stock app, does it still trigger that same addiction loop we saw with Leo?
Absolutely. The brain doesn't care if you call it a derivative or a parlay. The reward center reacts to the payout all the same.
So what are they doing to stop people from spiraling?
Since they are a federal exchange, they actually have some unique protections. They launched Self-Exclude, which is a national exclusion list. If you ban yourself on Kalshi, you're banned everywhere they operate, and no state-by-state paperwork is required.
And they use AI now, right? To watch for people like the guy in my class?
Yes, they use algorithmic monitoring. So if the system sees you trading on some obscure event at 3 a.m., it flags irregular patterns and can trigger a mandatory cool-off period or a responsible trading prompt.
That sounds better than most apps, but is it enough?
So here's the reality check, Iain. The app is still gamified. It's designed with flashing lights and instant payouts to keep you engaged. And no amount of AI monitoring can fully override a dopamine loop once it's in full swing.
Leo is borrowing money for gas, but spending it on bets. He thinks he'll pay his friend back double. But let's talk about the math and the law in 2026.
This is where it gets dangerous. Even if Leo wins that big parlay, he's likely to lose to the phantom income tax law.
Explain that. Because I think most people think if they win 10K and lose 10K, they owe nothing.
So, not anymore. As of this year, 2026, the IRS implemented the 90% rule. I am definitely not an expert on tax law, but it appears that you can only deduct 90% of your losses. So if Leo wins $10,000 and loses $10,000, he still has to pay taxes on $1,000 of income that he doesn't actually have. So he could be $2,000 in the hole just in taxes while technically breaking even.
And what about that system he thinks he has?
That's a cognitive distortion called the gambler's fallacy. Again, while Leo's brain is likely experiencing the near miss effect, when he loses a parlay by just one game, his brain doesn't see a loss, it sees a near win, which triggers almost as much dopamine as a victory. So it reinforces the idea that he's getting closer, even though the odds haven't changed.
So what makes the online version so much more lethal than walking into a physical casino? Zach mentioned Leo betting on international table tennis in the middle of the night. That feels like a huge red flag.
It is more dangerous. Digital betting has removed all stopping cues. In a physical casino, you eventually have to leave. But online, the casino is in your pocket 24/7.
Plus, the letter mentioned he's borrowing for gas, but spending on bets.
Yeah, when you use your app, you aren't handing over $20 bills. It's just numbers on a screen. It detaches the brain from the reality of the loss, making it much easier to spiral quickly.
This all makes so much sense when we stop to think about it.
It's a perfect storm of these three factors. First, you have that frictionless transaction. In a casino, you have to exchange cash for tips, and that physical act of handing over money creates a mental pause. But online, it's just a digital tap. It doesn't feel like real money. The second part of this storm is that you can gamble in private without the shame of accountability or being watched. And then the third part of the storm is the algorithmic feedback. Betting apps are designed to be sticky. They use gamification, flashing lights, progress bars, free bonus bets to keep you in a flow state or a trance.
And unlike a physical casino that closes, your phone is a 24/7 slot machine. There's no closing time to force you to go home and break the spell. So what do we tell Zach? How does he talk to Leo?
So, first, avoid the lecture. Leo is likely feeling immense hidden shame. And if you attack him, he'll retreat further into his vibe. Focus on the behavior, not the money. Tell him, I miss my friend. You seem stressed and irritable lately, and I'm worried about how much time the apps are taking from us. Then you could try to correct the distortions, gently challenge the system. Remind him that the apps are designed by mathematicians specifically to ensure the system eventually fails. Also, beware of that lending boundary. If Leo asks for money, the most loving thing Zach can do is say no. Maybe offer to help Leo buy groceries directly or, pay a utility bill. But do not give him cash or digital transfers.
It's a tough spot for a friend to be in, but staying silent usually lets the spiral continue.
It's not easy.
And after we have broken the silence, what's next?
The most effective treatment we have found right now is cognitive behavioral therapy.
How does that work for gambling?
It's about correcting the way that we think about things or cognitive distortions. So, gamblers often believe they have a system or that they are due for a win, and CBT helps them dismantle those false beliefs.
I've seen research of statistics that shows 70% of people who engage in consistent cognitive behavioral therapy see a massive reduction in the urge to gamble.
Right. There are other steps that are available that can be helpful. Use those financial safeguards. So, using software to block gambling sites and hand over financial control to a trusted third party. Support groups can be helpful. Programs like Gamblers Anonymous provide a community that understand the specific triggers. Some people say that medication has been helpful. I mean, while there's not an anti-gambling pill, some doctors are using off-label medications to dampen the reward response.
And introduce that friction. Create a physical barrier between them and the urge.
For sure.
And don't buy into the system talk. There is no system that beats a multi-billion-dollar algorithm. If you or a friend need immediate support, these are the resources for help. Resource number 1, National Problem Gambling Helpline. Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Resource number 2, Gamblers Anonymous. Local meetings are available in every major city. Third resource, self-exclusion. Every legal betting app is required by law to have a self-exclusion button in the settings. Encouraging them to tap that is a great first step.
Zach, thanks for getting this conversation going today.
Yeah, this is definitely something we should probably talk about. If you'd like to reach out to us and ask a question, you can email us at weshouldprobablytalkpodcast@gmail.com, and you can listen to us on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.